You don't even know what she just said.
You don't even know. Wait, they don't even know what he just said.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian Fleming, and I'm here with my beautiful wife Jamie today.
Hello.
And we've been married for 14 years. This is, again, the Marriage Battle Plan video series, and our whole mission here is to help you communicate clearly so your marriage will make it. We've been making it for about a decade and a half now at this point, right?
Yeah.
And we're not perfect. We're just like you. We're normal. We're weird. We have arguments. And that's actually something we're going to talk about today. How often do you think we argue? Once a day? Twice a day? Sometimes 10 times a day?
Gosh, I don't know, about 10 times a day.
10 times a day?
Probably not.
Probably not. No.
No.
We tend to have a lot of fun.
I mean, maybe one a day, if that. I mean,
Yeah.
really, like, we don't fight too. I mean, we do here and there, but, like, not, I don't know.
It's based on how she's feeling that day, in large part.
Back at you, Dave.
And I might have something to do with that. But here's the thing. Here's what we want to share with you today. The one phrase that can immediately begin diffusing an argument. One phrase you can use to immediately begin diffusing an argument. In case you wonder why I'm looking down, I got a couple notes here, so I don't want to forget anything. But basically, Jamie, there's sometimes when I'll say something and you'll hear something else, right? Mm-hmm. It's like the whole, I heard it put before, blue phone, pink phone. He says something, she heard something different. And we've learned that you can say something, but if you say it in the wrong way, it doesn't get received as well by your spouse. So, I can throw a rock against a brick wall as hard as I want, but it's not going through. Mm-hmm. There's a strategy. Or I know that sometimes you'll assume that I know something because we've talked about it or whatever the case. She'll often assume that I know something and I'm just not thinking about it. And so I talked about this in another video where you're kind of off. That's the whole theme of this program. People's communication is off. Our mission is to get your communication here. So at least when you're going to argue, you'll be arguing on the same page about the right thing. And it's not that bad. Mm-hmm. Once you have all the details together and you're on the same page, it's just more of a discussion than anything. Mm-hmm. So what is that phrase? What is that one phrase you can use right now when this video is done if you have an argument with your spouse to immediately begin diffusing it? All right, I'll tell you this, and I know I'm doing a lot of talking right now, and we want to hear from you, definitely. But there are times that when we argue, I will often come back, and this is one thing to my own credit. It's probably saved our marriages and many times, and definitely saved other relationships and business. I've been able to say, when something happens, I can come back and say this phrase, and it actually redeems the situation in most cases. So here's what it is. Picture Jamie and I, we just had a big blowout, big argument. She's choking me. You saw that. Assault, domestic abuse. That's not a joke. It is a joke. Not joking matter. Anyway, I screwed that up. But here's the phrase. If we just argued, we usually take a little bit of time, don't we? Mm-hmm. You'll just go do your thing. I'll go do my thing. Mm-hmm. I don't use this phrase in the heat of the moment because sometimes it can actually just be like gas on fire. Mm-hmm. So we walk away, we take 15, 20 minutes, half hour, whatever it is. And I come back and this is what I say. Here's what I meant by that. That being whatever it is I said that maybe just hit the brick wall and didn't get through. Here's a story going through my head. Let's see if we're on the same page. So what's the phrase? Here's what I meant by that. And here's the story going through my head. Mm-hmm. And then I'll say this. And I'll tell her, but when I use that phrase, what does that do for you?
My walls kind of go down where I'm not heated anymore.
Okay. So that's a pretty good thing if when you have a big blowout with your spouse, if you can come back together, and here's the thing, it doesn't just have to be the guy who does this, but if you're the guy in the relationship, I'm telling you, you're the man, you're supposed to be the leader. Traditionally, you go first. Maybe there's something you missed that you didn't get, that you overlooked, and it's your responsibility as the leader and the man to go first to try to diffuse the situation. Now, we've met some crazies, haven't we? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some crazy people in the world, and maybe you're married to one. But you're probably not. There are some legit crazies where this doesn't apply. There's nothing you can do for those psychopaths. But in most cases, most sane people, this works. So look, the thing about it is this: we teach this in our marriage battle plan workshops. There's always an enemy in these arguments, and what we find with most couples and in our own marriage is that a lot of times we think the other person is the enemy, and that's not always the case. Again, there are exceptions. Most of the time, the real enemy lies just beneath the surface of the obvious. It's not the obvious thing, which is why having this phrase, here's what I meant by what I said, or whatever it is in your case, and here's a story going on in my head. Tell me the story going on in your head. That allows us to stop fighting each other, but instead get in alignment next to each other, and we can then attack that common enemy together, take it out, and our life is better.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jamie, we got married 3 months before I went to Afghanistan. And it's been 14 some years now at the time of this recording. So I want you to think about this, because people who don't communicate, wars are started, wars are ended, marriages are started, marriages are dissolved in divorce, all because of our communication. So if you want to communicate more clearly with your spouse, I'd highly encourage you, put your email address in the box below or wherever you're watching this, because we host the live marriage battle plan couples workshop, which is where we teach you how to communicate clearly with your spouse so your marriage will make it. And we do this showing you proven military battle strategies for communicating under fire in combat. It's what we actually use in Afghanistan when I was deployed. We've adapted it to marriage. All right. And this isn't just me. I know I'm doing a lot of the talking. You'll hear more from Jamie, but we adapted this to marriage. Yeah. And our life is proof that it works, and everybody we've helped is proof that it works, and we want it to work for you too so your marriage can work. All right, so just if you want more information about that, put your email below. And Jimmy, any last words? Famous last words? Hopefully it won't be our last words. We have lots of happy years together, hopefully. All right, so anyway, action item. I'd like to leave you with an action item. Next time you get into it with your spouse, or anybody really, but let's just say your spouse, you have a blowout, you walk away, come back and tell them, hey, maybe I'm missing something, but here's what I meant, and here's the story going on in my head. Can you tell me the story going on in your head? You're going to find yourselves get more in alignment as long as you're both willing, and it's just going to diffuse the whole situation a whole lot faster, so you can be happier together, and your marriage has such a greater chance of making it.
And make sure you're cooled off first before you ask that.
Yeah. It's like we said. It's like if you do that in the middle of the argument, sometimes they're like, "Yeah, there you go again." And whenever the emotions flare up, all logic pretty much goes out the window. I mean, I've been married to this one for
whatever.
We don't want this to go too long, but use this phrase. I mean, test it. Write us. Send us an email. Let us know how it works. All right. I don't know why I'm doing the Donald Trump finger point thingies right there, but a lot of politicians do that, I guess. I see like the educators. Anyway, but next time you have a misunderstanding, try that one phrase. Here's what I meant by what I said, and here's the story going through my head. Tell them, and then say, what's the story going through your head? Sign up below to get notified and get an invitation for the next live marriage battle plan workshop. We hope to see you someday at one of the next ones we do. Boom.